thank you so much. Peter, I'm going to begin with just a couple of questions for you, and then we'll open it up to the audience to have their turn as well. Great. So I'll start with the basic question, which is, where was the inspiration for this film for you? How did you get involved with making this film?
The inspiration came, Jackie and I have been working together with HBO for many years, and 4 years ago talked about this film with the upcoming 50th anniversary. And HBO, in its wisdom, gave it the thumbs up long before anyone else had begun thinking about it. It was at a time in history where there was a lot of racism going on in the news, a lot of police violence. Ferguson had just happened, and we thought that to bring forth the real man and his message again was something that was overdue.
Absolutely. And if I can talk a little bit, so Taylor and Trey, you conducted interviews with this. Can you talk a little bit about, you also had a history of writing about Dr. King. Can you talk a little bit about the process of research and the process of conducting those interviews with these inner circle members of Dr. King's party? Oh.
Well, for me, these were people that I had known over 24 years in researching and writing the books. What was new for me was the process of doing film, and under the tutelage of the Kuhnhardts and HBO. What I sensed out of it in the interviews is calling them up, asking them to do it, got one more chance to show that Dr. King's life is about the future, not about the past. We want to talk and we want to make this in the voice of the eyewitnesses and not talking heads like me, which is a very brave thing to do, to have no narrator, no interpreter. And I think that comes out of wisdom. That generally speaking, when we try to interpret the movement, we tame it and we make it something that's nice and simple and not gripping about the future. And I think the eyewitnesses took that veil away. And so for me, the process of arranging the interviews and talking about the conception of the film all led to the experience that you see on the camera. I think it's visually beautiful. I'm not a film person, but there are 500 stills in there that I think would make a wonderful exhibit, and not just the ones of Martin Luther King. So it was an experience for me in a new genre.
Wonderful. Trey?
And for me, I come from narrative film usually, so the chance to talk to these heroes of mine, people of my parents' generation, was really once in a lifetime. And we use a device called a view direct, where I'm looking at a prism and they're looking right in their eyes. So when I see it up here, it's kind of hard to talk about, because when I'm talking to John Lewis or Juliana Clayton or Renan Lafayette, Jesse and Joe Baez, I'm just talking eye to eye to them for 2 hours at a time, sometimes 4 hours. And it was really a once in a lifetime experience for me. And to get the kind of intimacy of to have them relive these really sensitive moments of their lives again, and to capture that in their eyes and to be there in the room when it happens was took my breath away.
Wonderful. And if I can turn to one of the icons, Ambassador Young, if you could speak about your participation in the film and the message you think that Dr. King would have for us today, given the situation that we're in.
Well, I think the film makes it wide. I just say you did a really great job. I think this is the only thing that is attempted to get the complexity of the movement and the lives that we were living. Because many of you lived through some of this, and we're living through it now in a great sense. Just the other day, at Dr. King's birthday celebration on the 15th of January, the mayor of San Juan, Puerto Rico, came up with a Martin Luther King quote that I had either never heard or forgotten, but I can't get rid of it because it shows how relevant he was back before his death. He was saying, almost joking, that the most dangerous thing in the world is serious sarcastic stupidity.
Says it all. So, thank you.
I'm saying that not about the film, but where we are now and how much we have come through to still be dealing. In fact, he was talking about Vietnam. And he was talking about Vietnam because McNamara, nor Johnson, nor George Bundy knew anything about Vietnam. And it doesn't come out very often, but he at least knew that Ho Chi Minh had been a pastry chef at the Park House in Boston while he was at Boston University. And he was trying to go to school somewhere in the United States. But he had a knowledge of the world before he came out against the war in Vietnam. He got every book that he could find. On his vacation in Jamaica, which he took, he went every year after Christmas and stayed from the 26th to his birthday on the 15th. And he used that time to prepare his sermons for the year, to catch up on his reading and studying. And every other year, practically, he wrote a book. But his life was a real struggle with the complexities of our time. And I think that has never been as fully appreciated as you demonstrated in this film.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. I would love to open it up for questions. I'm going to begin right here. Let me just let you.
I want to thank each and every one of you for making this film possible. It really touched my heart. When I was in high school, I got suspended from high school for 2 weeks because I talked everybody in school into staying home because they wouldn't let the county where I live celebrate Dr. King's birthday as a national holiday. 21 years later, I was a student at Howard University. I called Mr. Young's office and asked him if he would provide an interview for my thesis, my senior thesis at Howard, which was on the making of Dr. King's birthday, and you graciously did that for me. So for that, I'm so glad I get to tell you in person, thank you.
I'll go right here.
Thank you for making such a beautiful, inspiring, and truthful film. Can you talk about Martin Luther King's commitment to nonviolence? What was the source of it? Where did it come from?
The question is about Dr. King's commitment to nonviolence. What was the source of it?
Yeah, let me say that, let me recommend Coretta's new book, My Life, Love, and Legacy. And because in the beginning of the book, she tells the story of coming home from church, from choir practice, when she was 15. This must have been around 1940. And to find a house totally burned down. And her father met them and had them all kneel down and pray. And first, thank God that none of them were in it. And then he prayed for forgiveness for the sick people that burned the house down. And then he prayed for them that they would hold no animosity or bitterness toward these people because they didn't know any better. I say that was almost, in 1940, that was almost the same message that came from Mother, the
Mother Emanuel.
Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston. And that was part and parcel of the doctrine of a lot of black churches. I was taught nonviolence at 4 years old because the Nazi Party was on the corner of my house, 50 yards from where I was born. And so my father had to tell me that white supremacy is a sickness. And you don't get upset and angry with sick people. He said, he was 5'4". He said, you're not going to be much more than 5'8", so you're never going to be big enough to beat anybody. And you can run and you can, or fight, but you don't feel good if you run or fight. And he said, you cannot ever afford to get angry. He said, you can't get angry with these people. He said, because when you get angry, the blood rushes from your head to your fist to your feet. And you turn your mind off. And so from 6 to 10 or 12, he slapped me around all the time. And if I reacted and got upset, he'd give me a good slap. He said, you lose your temper, you lose your head. And it was sort of beaten into me from childhood as a necessary survival skill. And I think that happened more. And one of the things you do here that has not been done anywhere is to tell the role of the women. The women got a chance to speak here as they never have before. And I thank you for that.
I'd like to say one more thing about nonviolence, because Andy speaks better about the spiritual side of nonviolence. But it's such an important topic. I'd like to make sure people understand that Dr. King always put one foot in the scriptures and one foot in the Constitution. And when he was commending nonviolence, he took a trip to India to study in 1959, and he came back saying, we're going to have to develop our own form of nonviolence as a strategy here. We're only a tiny minority, whereas the Indians were 95% of the country. And he said, besides, we can't be like them. We're not going to fast like they did. They've not eaten barbecue. They don't understand how. And he said, half of them are worried about killing insects now, and the biggest Gandhi in Nehru is building the atomic bomb. We have to have our own nonviolence. But it's also it's also part of our patriotic heritage, because the essence of the American experiment is to transfer power with votes rather than violence. And votes are nothing but nonviolence. So when he's putting a foot in the Constitution and a foot in the Scripture, he's telling us, don't make nonviolence some weird thing just for Indians and vegetarians. It's at the heart of your political tradition. If you believe in democracy, then you believe in nonviolence. We bounce off of it. We look for ways to justify violence sometimes, and we bounce, just like we bounce off race into an accusation, or I'm not a racist. And that to me is one of the most amazing things about Dr. King, was that he pushed into it. How do you make it a leadership doctrine? And how do you make it more real rather than something that is exotic? And I think that's what we should do too.
Jimmy Carter did that in his presidency. And we don't make the connection between Dr. King and Jimmy Carter. But for 4 years in the life of the United States, not a single American soldier killed anybody or was killed in battle. And we kind of consider that weakness. But Jimmy Carter was not only a peanut farmer, he had a degree in nuclear physics from the Navy, Naval Academy, and probably knew more about nuclear war than any president we've ever had. And he was determined that there would not be war on his watch. And he translated nonviolence into what I call the politics of respect. It was exactly the opposite of what we have now. He sent all of us to visit nations. And the instruction he wrote by hand for me was, I want you to ask African leaders what they expect of us and how we can help them. And that flipping the switch on America's role meant that we didn't stand, well, I was the budget. We didn't have the problems that we had, that we've had since. And largely it was that was one period where a president, though he would never say nonviolence, essentially institutionalized it into the presidency.
Thank you. You in the white cap?
Hi. I was reluctant to come and see this, okay, because it brought back a lot of memories. I remember being in the store. I remember meeting Dr. King and Ambassador Young when he was not ambassador. I remember working with Stokely Carmichael. Also at that time, it was with Malcolm X, because he also went to the Mecca and came back with a different viewpoint as far as violence and nonviolence. And when I saw it, I remember living on the other side of the tracks, and I saw not just racism, but prejudice. And I was told one time that I was going to be a teacher, and I said, hell no, I couldn't be no teacher. Now that I'm a teacher, I'm getting ready to retire, and I bring this up, because I'm looking at this film, and it depicts everything very clearly as far as the history books right now that don't even do any justice. Most of the kids today don't know anything about Dr. King, most of the kids, or they've been distorted. And something like this should be sent to almost every school, so kids can actually see it and see the other side. Because you sit back and say, it's all about black folks, it's all about hating whites, and it's not that. It's all about bringing people together, because I was talking to this young man right here, and we were talking about it bringing people together instead of pushing people apart. And I was telling him, I said, in the 60s, we kind of thought that this hatred and anger was all over. But then you look at right now, and this hatred is coming right back. It's like it reemerged with a vengeance. And so we have to sit back and reteach our kids, as well as reteach ourselves, because some of us have gotten complacent and allowing some of this stuff to still happen. And we need to bring it back to light and say, hey, we are the older ones now. We're not the kids then, like we were then. And I thought about violence and nonviolence. I looked at both sides because I was on both sides, especially when I was in Newark. When those dogs, when we would ride in the stores and the dogs, and stuff, dogs on us. And I sit back and say, wait a minute, where have we gone to allow this? What have we done to our kids to allow our kids to run our household? As a teacher, we all know this. They seem like they're entitled, but we went through the struggle. So I'm just saying, thank you for the film. I like a copy of it. I like to take it back to California. I mean, San Bernardino and stuff. I'm from New York. I went, and that's why I know about this in New York and New Jersey. And I remember shoveling coals to heat up our furnaces. And that's going back into those days, but some of us remember that too. But we let it go. But now we see this ugly head kicking back up, and we got to squash it.
So, Jackie, can you talk
So
about that?
I'm happy to say that HBO will be doing outreach with this film for schools and we're happy to get that message out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Please, yes.
I want to add one thing to what Jackie said. We're also working on each of the interviews that Trey and Taylor conducted were 3 to 4 hours long, and there was so much left out that was so beautifully described and stated that we're working with HBO on a plan to get the entire interviews into the public domain so that.
Great. So, unfortunately, we do have to wrap things up, but I want to thank you all so very much for bringing this film to Sundance. Thank you all so much for thank you. I also remind the audience to please vote. This is a ballot screening.